All right, my name is Chris Kolarevic, and this is my first coaching clinic I've been to. I just finished up my first year coaching. I was the linebacker coach at Iowa Western. Here's my bio. So I grew up in Traverse City, Michigan, and I went to Northern Iowa out of high school. Played there for 2 years. Then I went to Nebraska, played there for 2 years. Graduated, did my pro day, got a chance with the Bears, got cut, and then went and played in Canada for a year. And then I tried doing real estate for about 6 months, and that didn't go very well. So now I'm coaching. Ended up landing in the best spot I possibly could have. This Iowa Western program I can't say enough about it. It really is an awesome place. So the first thing I think about when I think of defense is three things. I teach guys three things. It's number one, and when I look at recruits, when I look at guys that I want to play for me, I say I need them to have instincts. They need to have a natural ability to feel the game and play the game. Number two is athleticism. They have to have the athletic traits, the speed, the quickness, the size, the frame. And number three is an edge. They need to have an edge to them, like a toughness, a grit, something that drives them, that makes them different. I had an old coach when I was growing up, because I grew up in a place called Traverse City, and it's a beach town. And I had a coach, he's like my grandpa, and he would always tell me, Chris, you're competing against guys that are playing for their survival. They're playing for money. They're trying to get out of a situation that they're in. And these guys have a hunger. They have an edge to them that's a little different. And if you want to be good at this game, you have to have an edge to you. So I teach those three things, and I look for those three things in guys that I recruit. As far as a big thing for me is player development, especially at a JUCO, where we get guys that, they need some development. They need to grow as people. They come in and they, whether they made a mistake at their old school or maybe they were under recruited and they just need some development. So the first thing I do, which I want to maximize individuals. I want to get the most out of the players that I have, whether it's you're at a high school level and you want to get the most out of your players. The first thing I see is identifying what they're good at and what they're not good at. And then I double down on what they're good at. I don't even worry about what they're bad at a lot of the time. I just double down on if I have a 250-pound Mike and I have a 210-pound Mike, those two guys are going to be completely different. The big guy is going to be a run stuffer. He's going to be a weight room guy. He's going to have a big frame and he's going to stuff the A gap. The 210-pound guy, I don't need him to get way bigger because he's naturally a little slighter, but I need him to be fast. I need him to be athletic. I need him to be able to escape blocks using his speed, not his power. So I have guys, I see it as doubling down on your strengths and almost not ignoring your weaknesses, because you have to be competent in all areas. But to me, it's more about doubling down on what you're good at. The second thing, and I had my head coach at Northern Iowa, his name was Mark Farley. He always taught me this. He said, find a way to get the best 11 players on the field. Now, you might have a guy playing out of position. You might have a guy that is playing a position that might not be what's most natural to him. But we want to get the best 11 guys on the field, however that mix goes. So if we have to change the defense a little bit, if we have to change the coverage or the front that we're running, we want to move the defense around the players, not the players around the defense. We want the defense to fit what we have personnel-wise and get the best 11 players on the field. And this last thing, I put this on here, and this is kind of how I think of motivating players and getting the best out of them, is there's this book that a guy named Adam Smith wrote. I don't know if you guys have ever read this book, The Wealth of Nations. He wrote it. It's basically the base of the U.S. economy. And he had this concept in there called the invisible hand, which this quote is kind of the base of it. It is not from the benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we expect our dinner, but from regard to their own self-interest. And I know it's a big word, that benevolence, but it's basically good-heartedness. So it's not out of this good-heartedness that we expect a player to be a great player. He's got his own internal motivation. So it's finding those internal motivations and maximizing the individuals, because when you maximize the individuals, the team's able to perform at a higher level. So I see it as maximizing each individual player, getting their best, doubling down on their strengths, and getting every player to play the best they can play so that the team can play better. So as far as individual drills with linebackers, I run these drills every day, and I've got a video on the next slide. I run these 6 or 7 drills every day. The first thing I do is get them on the bags to warm up. So they got to get their feet moving. They got to, go over them 1 foot in each, 2 foot in each, shuffle back and forth. So I start with the bags, and that's really just to get them moving, get their pad level down, get their blood flowing. And then I go to basic drops, get their hips moving. I do hook drops. So I do a strong hook drop, a weak hook drop, and then I do flip hips just to get their hips loosened up, get their hips moving in space. The next thing I go to is I do a wrap and roll tackle almost every day. And that's, in my opinion, that's the most common way to tackle. It's what you see. Every player can do it, whether you're a big player, whether you're a D lineman, whether you're a DB. It's that wrap and roll tackle where you grab the hips, you dislodge the hips from the side, and you twist them down. The next thing I do is a leverage tackle, which I teach. I don't want to draw it on the board, but I teach almost like a banana. It's like a banana path when you're going at a guy. I call it the banana path. So you want to track that near hip. And if you go at a straight line, a lot of times that guy's able to cut back on you. But if you take a path that's almost curved towards the running back or the receiver, or whoever has the ball, you're able to cut off his back hip and cut off his cutback angle. So I teach the banana path with the leverage tackle, and I have a video of that next. And the last thing I do, and I do this block destruction every day, I have 3 ways to destroy blocks. Number 1 is the 2-hand strike, the basic 2-hand strike. And with the 2-hand strike, I teach thumbs up, hips through, and then chop down or swim up. That's the 2-hand strike. That's what everybody teaches. You go on the leverage sled or you go on a pad that somebody holds like this and you do a 2-hand strike. The next block destruction I teach is a dip and rip with speed. So it's getting your shoulders down, getting your hips down, getting low, and dipping and ripping through the blocker. The next one is the jump cut, and which a jump cut is, I kind of teach it like a running back. And I really like players, I really like linebackers who played running back in high school. It's one thing I look at that when I'm recruiting, is a guy who knows when he has a guy coming to block him, he knows how to stick his foot in the ground and jump around. And he has to be able to do all 3 of these because you need different tools in your tool belt. Obviously, if you're a bigger linebacker, you're probably going to use the shock and shed, the 2-hand strike method more. If you're a smaller linebacker, you're going to use the jump cut or the dip and rip more. But those are the 3 block destruction techniques I teach. And then the extra drills. So this is more of a week-to-week thing. And it's dependent on the opponent. It's dependent on our scheme that we're running that week. It depends on the offensive scheme that we're playing against. I start with run fits, which is obviously going to be different depending on if a team runs more counter, if a team runs more power or zone or outside zone, depending on the run fits. We go through run fits with our guys. What happened here? I got to wiggle the mouse. Oh, there we go. So the run fits are week to week. It depends. And a lot of times I bring down the DBs too because our rover or our strong safety will be in the fit. Sometimes even the corner's in the fit depending on the defense or depending on the week. Then I go to coverage specifics, which we play a lot of cover 4. So for example, we play cover 4. So I'll go half field and I'll get 2, sometimes 3 receivers out there and I'll give them the hot routes for the week. So whether that's drive, whether that's stick, whether that's star, whether that's snag, I'll give them the hot routes for the week and I'll have them play zone coverage against those routes so they can feel those on air. The next one is man coverage. Sometimes I work man coverage if we're playing more man that week. With man coverage for linebackers, the important thing to know is know your leverage. And obviously with DB, you need to know your leverage too. Typically when we're too high, you're inside leverage because you know you have a safety outside of you. If you're 1 high, you're going to be outside leverage because you want to force everything back inside to the post safety. And then cut block destruction if we're playing an opponent that does a lot of cut blocking, like a option scheme and they're cut blocking us a lot, we'll do cut blocks. And the way I work cut blocks is I take one of those big heavy balls. I don't know if you've seen those ones, and I roll it at them and they destroy it with their hands and they move their feet back and then I have them go tackle after they destroy the block. And there's some more that I'll add on depending if I think something needs some work, whether it's working on edge pressures, blitzes, things like that. I'll add things as we need it, but these are the kind of the basic drills that I rely on. And I'll show you a video here. So this is the first thing with the bags. I'm just having them go off reaction. I do a lot of reactionary stuff because I think football is a very reactionary sport. And then this part is really just getting their feet moving, getting their blood flowing. I do this as a warm-up. They stretch for about 5 minutes and then they get right into this. Then we go into our drops. This is a weak hook drop, straight back. Then this is just flipping their hips 45. Pretty simple here, getting their hips moving back and forth. I like to see guys' hips being able to be fluid. Then I go to the wrap and roll tackle. Great way to do it with the gator roll. And then here, this one's an important one for me, this vice tackle, because we have to be able to gang tackle guys. And we play a lot of cover 3. So with cover 3, the way I teach cover 3 is, everybody see? I'm trying to think of how to make everybody see this. All right? Okay. So when I play cover 3, is there an eraser up here by chance? Where at? All right, cool. So with cover 3, you're going to get a lot of vice tackles, and that's kind of the point of cover 3. So we're going to have, in every cover 3, you're going to have a thirds player, you're going to have a post player, you're going to have another thirds player, and then you're going to have 4 underneath droppers. So this is your curl flat, this is your strong hook, this is your weak hook, and this is your curl flat. So with these droppers, anytime a running back gets the ball, whether it's in the middle, he gets a check down, he gets a swing pass, he gets a swing pass on this side, we're going to have vice tacklers everywhere. So in the middle, you got the strong hook and the weak hook that are able to vice tackle. If you get a swing pass, you have a strong hook and a curl flat that are able to vice tackle. And the same thing on the other side, if you get a swing pass to the boundary, you're going to have a weak hook and a curl flat that are able to vice tackle the player. So the vice tackling is really important. I like to work with it, and I like to have my guys get out there and work it so that they can figure out how to work in unison, because the important part is he can't let this ball get this side of him, and he can't let that ball get that side of him. He doesn't necessarily have to make the tackle. He just has to force the ball into his teammate. All right. Oops, missed some. Already saw this. Fast forward. Bag drills. This is a daily thing. And we have a couple more bag drills. That's not all the bag drills we do. And there's some more drops we do. We do a strong hook where they go 45. That's a weak hook drop that you just saw. This is a 45-degree drop. Obviously, we don't have a drop that's like this, but this is just working reading quarterback eyes, working flipping hips, wrap and roll tackle. My favorite type of tackling to teach. Vice tackle. Work with your buddy. Another vice tackle. And then this is a leverage tackle. This is what I was talking about with the banana path right here. So they're going to work to this near hip of the ball carrier, and they're going to work with a little bit of a curve to cut off his back hip. All right. Now, we will talk a little bit about our defensive scheme as a whole. So at Iowa Western, we run a defensive scheme that uses a pinch front. So the pinch front was started at Northwest Missouri State about 10 years ago. About half of the D2 teams in the country run it. There's no Division I's that run it as far as I know, and we run it at Iowa Western. So we run a pinch front, and then we run match coverage behind it. And I'll draw that up so you guys can get an idea of what that looks like. And it's a little bit unique. It's not a base 4-2-5 where you're running it over and you're running quarters behind it. It looks a little different. So I'll draw an offense first. Center, guard tackle, quarterback, tailback, and I'll go off a 2x2, 11 personnel right now. So those are receivers. So on the back end, match coverage is man quarters, meaning the DBs are in man. They're done. It's C at halftime, buddy. Like, you're done. You're in man. So we got the corner. He's in man. You got the rover, man on the tight end. You got the slot safety, man on the slot, and you got a corner. That's man on the number 1 receiver. And then on the defensive line, we're going to have an end in a 5. We're going to have another end in a 5, and we're going to have tackles in 2 eyes. On the snap of the ball, this end is going to strike and go into the B gap. Strike and go into the B gap. This is what a pinch front is. And then at the backer level, we're going to have a Mike. He's going to be in a 20 opposite the back. And this is our base. We run some over front out of it. We run some other fronts out of it. And on passing downs, we run a jet front, which is two 3 techs and some wide, either a 9 or a 5, some wide 9s, so we can let them get after it. But this is our base front that we'll start every game in, and we'll run probably 50% of the time at least. So we have a Mike in a 20, and then we have a nickel to the field. This is the field. We have a nickel. He's going to be apex between the tackle and the number 2 receiver. And then we have a Will, who's going to be about 3x4 off the tight end, depending on his athleticism. I try to tailor guys depending on their athleticism. So as far as the backers go, because we have guys going in the B gaps and the A gaps, we have the A gaps and the B gaps fully covered. Meaning when we get inside zone, most of the time when we get inside zone, this thing's going to hit off the edge. It's going to bounce. Our edge defenders are our Will and our nickel. They have the C gaps. So they're flat defenders in match. Everybody behind them is in man coverage. He's a flat defender to the field. He's a flat defender to the boundary. The Mike is the middle hole. He's reading the quarterback. And then in the run, they're edge players. And obviously with different schemes like power, like counter, the fits change a little bit, and I'm going to show you some film of what that looks like. But this is the base of what our defense looks like. And it really allows the D-line to eat. It really allows the D-line to – we had a dominant D-line last year. All 4 of our starters ended up going Power 5, playing Power 5 football. And it allowed them to just go eat up front. And it took a lot of pressure off the back end. Number one, in the run game with the backers, because there's no inside gaps. So our Mike is really a C-to-C player, and he's just finding the ball. And on the back end, we were able to run jet against pass, and our D-line was really strong, so we took a lot of pressure off the back end, which is what allowed us to play so much man. Because if you don't have a good D-line and you can't get home, you can't play much man. It's going to be impossible. Guys can only guard so long. In my opinion, the hardest position on this defense is this slot defender, because he's isolated on number 2, and he's got no help inside. So he has to play hard inside leverage, and if he gets beat inside, we're screwed. So we had, after about week 2 this season, we were getting beat inside a lot. He was getting shaken down, hit on a dig, hit on a post, hit on a seam in the inside, and there's nothing we can do about it if he gets beat on the inside. So we started running some one high. We started running some cover 1 and cover 3 so we could cover the middle of the field. So by the end of the season, I want to say our ratio, our percentage was 40% match, probably 30% cover 3, and the rest was cover 1. So I'll show you some film of what that looks like. Start with the run fits and gap scheme. So right now, we just have it's a quarterback power. So the center's pulling, we got quarterback power, we got a little bit of misdirection, not very hard. If you see the puller, I teach go with the puller. I see puller first before I see where the ball's at. I got to go to the puller. So my Mike's following the puller, and then my nickel is the edge defender. So what that means to me is when I look at a defense and I look at responsibilities and tackling angles, there's lever players and there's spill players. Spill players are inside out. Lever players are outside in. So my Mike is a spill player. He's playing inside out on everything. He doesn't want anything to cross his face inside. He wants everything to spill outside of him. And then our Will and our nickel are lever players. So they're outside in, and they want to turn everything back into the Mike, into the post safety. So here we're playing cover 1. Our nickel's a little bit tighter in cover 1. We had him play a little tighter. I know I said he's apex. In match, he's apex. In cover 1, he has to be a little bit tighter. So he turns back the puller and makes a play on the quarterback. I try to take most of the clips from the playoff games. This is the national championship. I wanted you guys to see some good competition. Here we get counter. And again, you see our Will over here, he's the leverage player. So he's going to turn back the puller, turn everything back, and he ends up making the play. He cannot allow himself to get blocked here, and if anybody gets the edge on him, they got a big play. He has to turn everything back. Mike getting over top. This is a big deal for counter, for power, any sort of gap scheme. Our Mike has to get over top. The only times we ran into problems in the run game were when the Mike went up and got lost in the shuffle and a tackle came and blocked him and he got sealed off. It's really important, and I worked this in Indy for the Mike to get over top of those blocks, because anytime you get power, you're going to have a tackle releasing up to him. Here he's not able to get to him because the end takes him over, but you'll have a tackle getting up to the Mike and trying to get to him, and he has to get over top of him. If he gets pinned inside, you leave a massive gap that nobody's covering. So we get counter, a little bit of misdirection with the quarterback. We pretty much ignore any misdirection. We go with the pullers. We have players out there, if the quarterback were to keep it, we have guys that are already there that are staying there. This is from our first playoff game. This is against a team called Tyler. They're from Texas. We get front side G here. So the guard pulls front side. Nickel. He's the lever player again. And I tell these guys, the number one thing when you're taking shots like this, because if you watch this, he ends up taking a shot and he goes. And I tell him, if you take a shot, you have to make it. If you take it, you have to make it. And if you don't make it, you take a shot and you don't make it, you're hanging all your teammates out to dry. So he's the lever player. He takes his shot and makes the play.
Who's your nickel reading there? They read the
No, he's gonna read the Y. Typically, we have him read the Y. Yeah. So if he sways back, the Y tells us a lot. And the Mike is more heavy on the guards in the center, and he's kind of a triangle read is what I called for the Mike. But these nickels and wills, I find it a lot more advantageous to read the Y. I think it tells you a lot more about the play, and it's kind of week to week of if they're running a lot of split zone, if they're running a lot of counter, we kind of know the Y takes us to the play typically. So Y blocks down here. He knows this ball is coming at him because the Y is blocking down, and he sees the puller. So he figures he can trigger. The guy blocking him is him. If he gets sealed and this ball gets outside of him, we're not in good shape. So he takes his shot. Our nickel this year, he was really good at this. He ended up signing with Old Dominion. He was the number 6 linebacker in the country. He ended up being a really good player because he made plays like that. He made plays that not a lot of guys can make. Same thing here. It's going to get repetitive, but another gap scheme. Will turns it back. Mike fits it from inside out. And here we have, you can see the rover in our match coverage. So in here we're match. Our rover is fitting off the tight end because his tight end is his man coverage. So he's fitting off his coverage. So here our rover fits off the tight end, and he ends up being the one that makes the play. A rover in this defense ends up kind of being like a linebacker because he's in the fit so often. When he's on the tight end, he's obviously in the fit. So he ends up being in the fit probably 90% of the time in match coverage, which ends up, you can see he's lined up at 7, 8, maybe 8 yards. And I have him lined up right around that 7 to 10 range, and he ends up being kind of like a linebacker. He makes a lot of tackles. So this is power read. This is a play that Spear runs, and he just showed you, but this is power read. Versus power read, this is our edge defender, our nickel. And then inside out, he's the second quarterback player, our Mike. And he does a good job of turning it back, and we get a gang tackle on the ball. Counter. Okay, I threw this in there because it was an awesome play. And it's a gap scheme, but I just wanted you guys to see this is how we fit option. So our lever player, our flat player and lever player is the pitch player, and then our inside out spill player is the quarterback guy. So our Mike takes the quarterback, he pitches the ball to the running back, and boom, nickel makes the play. All right, next we got zone. So zone, like I said, typically this ball is going to spill. So right here, this ball, you can see spits to the C gap because all our inside gaps are covered. And you can see this front gets condensed. Like, look how condensed this front gets. I mean, these A gaps and B gaps are gone. So that ball is going to spill to that C gap, leaving it right for the nickel, and he makes the play. That's a great fit. Let's see, did I miss one? This is outside zone. Similar deal. They're trying to get the edge here. So in outside zone, how I see outside zone and how offenses teach it is that running back's getting the ball, and this is like they call it mid zone. So he's getting the ball, and he's gonna read the linebackers, and if the linebackers overplay it, he's gonna cut it up and get upfield. Here, the D-line takes up all the interior gaps, which he tries to get to the edge, and our nickel does a good job of playing this. How I have the Mike play mid zone is I have him, just like in that leverage tackle drill that I showed, I have him track his near hip. So if you watch him here, he's tracking the near hip of the back. He's staying right on that near hip. Same play. Similar play here. Tracking the near hip with the Mike. Nickel's the edge. Rover's fitting off the tight end. D-line makes a good play. Zone again. Wanted you guys to see this one because if you watch this DN, he does a great job with this technique. They don't line up in the B gaps, but their B gap is their responsibility. So he strikes and sheds into the B gap, and our DN ends up being the one that makes this play. Or I guess our Will does, but DN gets in on it. All right, we'll get to some coverage stuff. So we got match coverage. We're in man on the back end. This play is just a good example of what match coverage looks like. They run all curls. It's 1st and 10. They're trying to get to the sticks. We have 4 guys in man. We got a Mike that's a hole player. If the quarterback scrambles, our Mike is our scramble player. Nickel up there, he's the flat player. He's reading quarterback eyes. So if the quarterback's looking at 1, he's going to get out to 1. If the quarterback's looking at 2, he's going to sit under 2. Same thing with the Will. He's doing the same thing, and we got 4 guys in man on the back end. Force the scramble. Mike runs him down, makes a play. Match coverage again. So one part about match coverage too that we install on day one is when there's an attached Y, that rover has in man. But if that tight end goes out to the flat right away, we call it buzz. So we would go here, the rover and the will would be saying buzz, which means anything to the flat, anything under 5 yards, if the tight end goes out, that will is now in man on the tight end. If he goes vertical, rover's responsibility. So I wanted to put this in here because I wanted to show you tight end goes out to the flat, nickel takes him. So I put this in here because this is the hardest job on the field in match coverage. Think about it. Out here, this ball has to travel a lot further. He has to get all the way to the sideline to a number one receiver. So the corner's job is hard, but this slot receiver, it's a lot less distance from this throw to the slot receiver. So this guy's on an island, this slot defender right here. He's in man on this receiver. He does a really good job of taking him here. He kept inside-out leverage because he can't let him inside because he doesn't have a post safety. Keeps inside-out leverage and makes a good play. Tracks the near hip. Turns around for the ball when he can. That's good man coverage. All right. So we're in match again here. Rover has the tight end, but the rover stays in and blocks, which leaves him free. It's a benefit of match for us. And then he goes and makes a play on the ball and he gets a pick because he was able to just be a free player. Just an example of match coverage here. He's in man. With these DBs, it's all about tracking that hip. They want to close the distance as much as possible. So we teach the corners to close that distance on the hip, run with him, make sure you keep your body and hand on him. If he tries to throw your hands or knock you off, you just press that hip, press the hip. You don't have to get handsy, you don't have to grab, you just have to press the hip. And he does a good job pressing that hip right there. One issue with match coverage that we run into is, I know that our offense loves to run wide delay. These guys, Tyler ran a wide delay here, which can be a big problem for our rover because our rover is also in the run fit. That's very challenging. For a rover, you're looking at the run fit and you're thinking, I got to go fit my C gap because my tight end's blocking. So you're thinking, get downhill as a rover. But then so the tight end delays and runs out, he has to still take him. So he does a great job here of recovering after he gets downhill, getting to that tight end, and about makes a pick on the ball. Our rover ended up going to Purdue this year. He's a really good player. Let's get to some cover three. So cover three, we ended up, it damn near became our main coverage this year because it was so effective for us with the post safety. Any quick game like this, I have the guys sit. So I teach with these drops, with this strong hook and weak hook drop. I have them look at the quarterback first, primarily. So if the quarterback takes a one-step drop, you probably don't need to get as much depth. If the quarterback takes a five-step drop, you need more depth. Here, the quarterback takes a quick drop, and you get quick routes by the receivers. So they didn't get much depth, and they sat on the receivers. And our Mike ended up getting a PBU here. Cover three again. So this. We run it a little different. We run cover three a couple different ways. One is we bring the safety down, and he's the weak hook. The other way is we bring the safety down, and he's the curl flat. Here, we call it flood. Safety comes down from depth. He goes down, and he's the curl flat player. So he has to get a reroute on number two. Reroutes are essential in cover three. He gets a reroute on two, works out to his landmark, which is at about 10 to 12 yards. Quarterback throws it to number one on a curl. He's sitting right under it, gets a pick. This is a nice play by the post, and this is why we put in cover three, because it's really nice to have a post. Because in match coverage, this is probably a touchdown. But because we have a post, he's able to make a pick. So I put this in here to give you an example of the vice tackle. So we have a weak hook right here. We have a strong hook right here, and they throw a check down to the back, just like I was talking about. So we have two guys converging on the ball. He knows he has to force it to his buddy here. He ends up making the play, but if he doesn't, we got another one right there, ready to make the play. All right, so same thing, same player. Name's Tim Robertson. He just committed to West Virginia today, playing this curl flat. And in the other clip, you saw him get all the way out here to 1, make a play on the curl. He saw the quarterback do a quick drop, and he saw number 2 run a 5-yard hitch. So he sits on the hitch, gets a pick. So there's these guys, they have to have a feel for the routes. It's not just a close your eyes and drop to a landmark. It's a having a feel for how far is the quarterback setting. Is this a intermediate pass? Is this a short pass concept? Is this a long pass concept? How much depth do I need to get in my drops? It's dependent on the quarterback. It's dependent on the routes. And these guys have to have a feel for what the offense is trying to do to them. And so by the end of the year, this is our first playoff game. By the end of the year, they ended up getting a pretty good feel for these routes. And we started getting a lot of picks. I think we had 4 in this game. We'll go to cover 1. So this was our 3rd game of the year, maybe 4th. And we had just installed cover 1 because we decided we want to post safety. And we couldn't just leave the middle of the field open. So this is the first time we ran cover 1 the whole season. And they didn't know it was coming. So we had our Mike sit right in the middle of the field. They didn't know it was coming. Throw it right to him. So the element of surprise on quarterbacks is essential. And in a way, the way we call defense is a little bit random. We have 1 and we have 3, and they look similar in the way that they're presented to the offense. And in order to mess with the quarterback and not have tendencies, it's a little bit random about when we call them so that they don't know what we're in. So he didn't have any idea we were in cover 1 right here. He thought this middle of the field was going to be wide open. He thought we were going to be in 3. They had a whole check. They had a whole cover 3 check right here. They're checking to a cover 3 beater. Quarterback has no idea there's a Mike in the middle of the field. He thinks there's going to be a weak hook, and he thinks there's going to be a strong hook. And that Mike just sits right in the middle and picks it off. So the element of surprise, the element of messing with the quarterback's eyes is essential in the pass game. And then this I put in here just to show you why having a post player helps a ton. Because like we talked about earlier, I mean, you get a wide delay or you get a running back coming up the middle, a guy that you typically don't think is going to go out for a pass. He goes out for a pass. He goes up the middle. And our Mike is actually our running back player here. He's man on the running back, but he doesn't cover him because he's thinking run. Our post player is sitting right there, able to cover him. So that post player was really effective for us this year. He was able to cover up a lot of holes, a lot of weaknesses. And the last slides I have is just guys being dudes. So a big part of defense to me is their scheme and there's fitting things up correctly. And then there's just guys being dudes. It's guys making plays that aren't necessarily theirs to make. They just make them because they're good football players. And I preach this to my guys. If just because you have the C gap doesn't mean you can't make a play in the B gap. You have to be able to be a football player and make plays all over the field. So my first one I had here, we're in match coverage. And this is a big play in the game. This is 3rd and 1. We're playing Hutchinson. It's number 1 versus number 2 in the country. This is a big play. Our nickel decides he wants to go try and make it. He didn't make it. So I say you take it, you make it. I got a little bit irritated at him with this one. But our rover comes down. His gap is this C gap. But he sees that C gap get taken, and we didn't practice it like this. We practiced it with this nickel on the edge and this rover in the C gap. But he sees the nickel take the C gap, and he goes and tackles the quarterback. 0 gain. We get off the field on 3rd down. Next one. So we have a safety here who's supposed to be guarding this player. We have 2 guys on the wrong guy, and we leave this guy free. So he's running free. It's a wide open touchdown. But our corner's got his head on a swivel. He sees that nobody's guarding him, and he goes and makes a play on the ball. Not his job, but he saved a touchdown. You have to have football players that are instinctive, and that's why the first thing I put on the big 3 things that I look for in a defensive player is instincts, because they have to be able to play football. It's not a robotic game. It's not a game that rewards staying in your gap when the ball is not in it. It's not a game that rewards staying on your guy when it's not getting thrown to your guy. It's a game that rewards playmakers that make plays using the instincts that that have been ingrained in them since they've been playing football when they were 10 years old. So our corner makes a great play here, not his job, but he saves a touchdown. And then our last one, this is the last play I have on here. We're in cover 3, and our Mike here is our weak hook dropper. And your weak hook landmark is 12 yards on the hash. So he's really supposed to be backpedaling here. He's supposed to be getting back, sitting on the weak hook, waiting for things to come to him. He sees the quarterback looking hot right away. And he goes and jumps it and breaks up the ball. So if I could leave you with anything, number one, this scheme is a very interesting one that if you run it, great. It's an awesome scheme. If you don't run it, you can win with any scheme. And it's important to just have football players and encourage them to make plays. Encourage them to be football players, not just robots that fit a scheme. And fitting the scheme around the players, not the players around the scheme. And that's all I got.